Hi everyone, just before you go to the YouTube video, just thought I would give a quick refresh on what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about renting properties and my experiences from it. This is not a comprehensive list for everyone, but it's my experience. So hopefully if anyone is going into this endeavour, they will listen to and watch this video, and you can get some ideas on some of the things that I learned from it, some of the things that I did well, and maybe some of the things that I didn't do so well, which are all in this video. So I'd really like you guys to give me some feedback on what you think about my video, and any shared on any feedback would be most welcome. So enjoy the video and feedback when you can. Thanks a lot. Hi everyone, it's Mark Hayward here on the Absolute Business Mindset podcast and YouTube video. Today I'm going to talk about property. I'm going to take it from a personal experience of mine, and hopefully you can get some insight and how it can help you. This is really sort of laying bare something that's been going on for the last couple of months, which has been quite a challenge and quite testing to be able to deliver, but hopefully I'm doing the podcast and the video now because I'm nearly at the end, and I think it's worth a point just to have a checkpoint for you guys to sort of understand the sort of pros, the cons of doing a property up and getting it ready for renting. Okay, so let's start a couple of months ago. I inherited a property. Actually, you'll probably find that it was around the end of December. My grandfather passed away and we inherited a property. And instead of wanting to sell it, I decided that I would take on the idea of being able to rent it out. Now, the property had not really been updated for probably 20 odd years, maybe a little bit more, and so there were some challenges in the property, but it was structurally very sound. It had been built it'd been around for a substantial period of time, and there was nothing that was wrong. Even the boiler was relatively up to date. So I decided that I wanted to rent it out, which is the first step with all of this, is making the choice that you want to do something like this. It's not easy. I kind of had an idea what it was going to be like, but I think I was surprised the costs that kept on coming, and we'll come to that in this podcast and video. So, as I said, it needed refurbishment, which I knew, but your first port of call is to get a builder. Now, it was outside of where I lived, so I didn't really have anyone that could recommend it to me. So I did the trick that I suppose everyone would do in this sort of situation is I get 3 quotes, which I got on a website. It's called mybuilder.com. That's if you're in the UK. If you're in any other location, it's probably not called that. And so I got the 3 quotes. Interestingly, one guy turned up and was there for 30 seconds and gave me a huge quote. So he was definitely out of the running. The first guy that I saw, very comprehensive, very professional, very good, and really liked him. He was very, very good, honest bloke. He seemed to be, and I liked him very much and liked what he did. He was measuring up. He was talking to me about it. He was giving me ideas what we could do. But he did say, I am probably going to come in more expensive than anyone else, but I will give a very good standard. Now, that gave me a certain element of confidence. And I'll tell you, so the third person that I saw was very good, very professional, talked to me and did everything the other guy did, but was cheaper. And I needed to make a business decision. It was hard, and I think it was hard because I'd inherited the property. It was hard to not go for the more expensive guy, because if I was going to move into that house, I would have gone for the more expensive guy. And maybe this has been a little bit open, but to be honest, I want to share with you what my experiences was, so you can make fully aware of what you should do if you were put in that situation. But I went for the cheaper guy. Now, I went for the cheaper guy, not because I was trying to be cheap or cutting money. Money was important, but I wanted it to be a business And so right from the outset, I wanted it to be a situation where I wasn't doing everything because I would like it. I was trying to make it into a business choice and for it to make me some money. So it was quite hard to sort of like get rid of, just remove the emotional content of the house and making it into a business. But I decided that I'd go for the cheaper guy. And actually, there was a few question marks through some of his performance, which I won't go. I think it'd be unprofessional to go into that amount of detail. But he was very good. He worked hard. He delivered on the timeframes that he said, and to be honest, he had a couple of guys with him, and they refurbished. They did the whole of the bathroom, which for me was a big deal because it was purple and peach, and to be honest, I couldn't abide it. So I decided that had to come out completely, and a whole new bathroom was put in. But they always say bathrooms and kitchens is what sells properties, and I thought the kitchen looked okay. It was a little bit dated, but it was all clean, and it was all relatively new stuff. The cooker and the fridge and so did the bathroom, and that made such a huge difference. I was so happy with the result of what he did because it was really, really needed a good refresh. So I was happy with the tiling, happy with the grouting, happy with the bath he put in there. So that was all good. And he had to make changes to the flooring downstairs, which we put some lino. Now, maybe if I'd done it on my own, I would have put wood in instead of lino. But to be honest, in the last 5, 7, 8 years, lino's come on a hell of a lot. So, especially in the UK. So it was very, 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 very good in the end. It looked really good, and we did some more carpet up the stairs and the top, and some paint. I needed a refresh on the paint. So it wasn't a massive job, but it still took, I think in total it took about 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. The bathroom obviously was the biggest task, and that needed to be done properly, and was. So I was pretty happy with what they delivered. There was a couple of things on what they call in the UK the snagging list, a sort of a few things that needed to just be that we noticed that they obviously didn't. So it was all good. Or the household, I was very happy with it. We got, just to keep chronologically, we got the letting agency in to have a look round. At that stage, he gave me a price, what he thought it could be. The one thing that I did also, which was quite emotional and quite hard to do, was there was still quite a lot of stuff in his house. A little bit of furniture, a little bit of pots, pans and plates and things, and I gave plenty of opportunity to my family to take anything that they had emotional attachment to. Obviously there was quite a lot of emotional attachment in the house, and I needed to respect that, and so I took a couple of pictures. I know there was some plates and bowls and things like that, which might have been worth a little bit of money, but my brother took it and friends took it, so that was all good. But essentially there was quite a lot of stuff that was still in the house, and yeah, I had to get a removal company just to take it all, and I will tell you honestly, it was quite a wrench, because I was expecting them to take the stuff and then sell it on. That was what I was hoping for them to do. In actual fact, they just gutted the place. Not the easiest thing to experience, but had to be done because we were advised by the letting agents to get rid of all the furniture. So TVs and things like that we sold, bits of furniture that were not precious or not interested in keeping, we just got rid of. And as I say, there was some other bits and pieces that all went. And that's another expense. The sort of story I want to give you is that it's not a cheap thing to do this. you can have a budget, but you're going to probably go over your budget, and there's going to be things that you hadn't thought of. Like, I had not thought of gutting the house needed to be done so quickly, and so when I found someone, I needed to do it on Saturday, and it was all done. So emotionally and financially, that was a wrench which I wasn't expecting. And actually, that was more than I was expecting as well. So the house is done. The next thing we need to lead on to is the garden. So my grandfather's garden was an extended garden. It was the size of everyone else's garden, plus he bought some extended land when he first moved in. God, it must have been like 60 odd years ago, I think it was, probably. And so there was a couple of things that need to be done in the garden on putting a fence up. So fortunately, the same builder said, "Oh, actually, one of my mates can do it." So he gave me a quote, and obviously, like, you have to sound off these quotes. You have to get them about right. There's a little bit of a negotiation, and we got it done. Fence all done. So that was all good. Now, what we then so we got the garden. So it was all nearly done, apart from the fact that the garden was totally overgrown, and just needed a lot of work to be done. Now, I've got so many other things. I've got family, I've got kids, I've got wife, I've got job. It's very difficult to fit all that in there. The other thing is, like, turning up for sort of site visits on the weekend or in the week, or turning up in the afternoon to deliver a key or something like that. That's very challenging as well. And I was actually leaving my job at that time, so I had a bit more flexibility than I would do if I was permanently going for promotion or whatever. So again, you just need to be realistic about what sort of time frames. You might have to do some odd times. I spent a lot of Saturdays travelling because it's quite a distance away, so I had to spend quite a lot of travelling going on tube and trains or driving over there. So there's a lot of time and effort and money that goes into it. Anyway, the garden. So I spent a whole day doing this garden. Now, unfortunately, I underestimated the severity of everything. So took a few tools with me, including a lawnmower, excuse me, but underestimated it completely. There was weeds, there was plants, there was concrete. There was just I didn't understand how packed it was, of all these different plants that were dead and pots that were there. So I spent a whole day, in a very hot day, in the garden, cutting grass, pruning, weeding, overgrown things that had just surfaced in concrete. It was pretty full on for the full day, to be honest. I decided to do it on my own. I didn't pull anyone else in because I thought I was taking like help from other people, and I thought, well, do you know what? I should really do this myself. I can take a Saturday. So although I had to spend some time away from the family, I did it, and it was good. I got it into a decent state. Fortunately, my brother lives relatively close, so I was able to get an extension lead, or I wouldn't have been able to cut all the grass, which would have been a bit unfortunate. Excuse me. So the garden was pretty full on, but got it in a state of affairs where I was happy with what I did. And to be honest, I got to a point in the day where I just had to go. There was just not enough hours to be able to do everything. I had to then drive and drop off some keys for something else, so which I'll talk about in a minute. So that was challenging, but bit of manual labour, doesn't hurt anyone. So once the garden was done, fence was done, house was done, everything updated to what I was going to have it as. I need to get a professional cleaner. So we got a professional cleaner in, and I trust her. She's good, and she took, again, a lot more time than I was expecting. I'd sort of budgeted 150, thinking that, because when my grandfather was alive, he had a cleaner, so I was expecting it to be relatively clean. Anyway, this cleaner that I use she does things seriously professional. That's one of the reasons I took her on. Anyway, she ended up spending a lot more time, like it was almost like 7 hours or something like that in the house. She took everything out. She took the oven out and cleaned behind it, took the fridge out and cleaned behind that, and she said that it was a lot more than she'd hoped for, which isn't a good sign if you're cleaning saying it's more than she was hoping for. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into values and prices of things because I think everyone is different, but I basically paid double, if not a little bit more than double than I was expecting to pay. So again, it's a thing of just so you can know if you're going through this, that even like something like a professional cleaner, you might think, oh, it's only a couple of hours work, but actually to do it properly, if you get these gardeners and professionals and builders and people like that, then they cost a little bit more than you're probably expecting. And every project goes over budget and goes over time. Now, this didn't necessarily go over time, which is good, but probably did go over a little bit over budget. Anyway, professional cleaner came in, did a really good job. I got the letting agents to come back again, and they gave an assessment, took photos, agreed a price. He gave me the details of what he was going to charge me for everything, which was good. It was really comprehensive. I was then able to Google it and just check whether he was being fair on his markup and what he was expecting to pay, what he was expecting me to pay for all the different services. Now, I must admit, I've actually been quite impressed by these letting agents. They were good in that once we've got past this point, they've kind of taken over the sort of reins at this point, and a lot of the stuff going on now that was just in the recent past, they've basically taken a lot of the strain off of me. The only thing that I needed to do was put smoke alarms, 2 smoke alarms and a carbon monoxide alarmings, which I've done. Again, didn't really have the right tools, but it's good, it's done. But then I needed to get a gas certificate, an electric certificate, and an energy certificate. So I think even if you're not in the UK, there would be some sort of level of sort of certification that you'd need for gas, electric, and so energy. So gas and electric, you can understand all the utensils that are in there, all that they work and they're good, and they're not going to set fire to anything or anything like that. But the energy certificate was actually quite interesting. So this was talking about the amount of energy that was lost in the house. Now, it wasn't double glazing, which was a problem. And it was insulated in the loft, something that was done probably in the 60s or 70s. And there's more up-to-date insulation that's needed. But it passed, which was my key point. And again, if I was moving into that house, I would probably do double glazing and probably put the proper insulation in. But not that I'm trying to scrimp, but from a business point of view, and this is a business podcast, and I try to act in a business mindset, I decided that, or that it didn't fail, and there was no like, oh, you've got to have this done by 2022 or anything like that. It's like things are probably going to move on. It will change. You might have to do something further down the line, but at the moment, it's all okay. So that was quite interesting. I didn't know houses did that. So it's an interesting. A guy wanders around and has a look around and does an assessment. It was all on a computer, which gives there's an algorithm that works out whether it passes or fails, which was interesting, I thought. Now, excuse me. So something that was done in the local authority, which is what's called in the local area. The local authority is what they call it in the UK. So London split into different authorities, and each of them have a remit, and sort of based on the voting rights. You probably all know this, but anyway. And this local authority that I'm going to rent the property in have decided that they want a certificate for themselves, which again, I haven't done yet, but it's one of my jobs to be done ASAP. But it's a lot more than I really thought it was going to be. And the story goes that they'd put it in to stop people renting properties on the cheap and getting them full of undesirables. So again, it's another cost which I didn't bank on, but again, the letting agents, to their credit, gave me information that we needed. I needed this, so yeah. And I'm going to mention the company, not because I want them to sponsor me or anything, but I think it's worth saying because I think the letting agents have been very good so far. And if they don't deliver what they agreed they'd deliver, I will call you out as well. So just, it's company's called Hart, Haart, and probably in London, probably in some of the UK. So they've been really good. I've been really impressed with them. So just thought I'd give them a shout out there. And so we got viewings very quickly, which was nice. I think there was 4 or 5 people that looked at it initially. One person didn't like the kitchen, which I can understand. It might be good to have a refresh, but I decided not to. One person was very, very positive about it. He liked the idea of it. He liked it. And then there was a couple of others that were kind of like, well, maybe we'll see how it goes. So those are the type of people that you're probably not going to get straight away. But we had an offer, which was really exciting. I won't go into. Well, I suppose there was supposed to be a man who was an IT consultant who had a child that was coming at the weekends. He was recently divorced. I don't know the exact time frames. Anyway, he was very interested. And the letting agents went in and asked him details about it and get ready to pay, but he basically delayed. While he was delaying, they were still looking for other people because they had nothing signed, which makes sense. And they found another couple who fit the criteria. They can afford it. They just about managed my sort of expectations. I wanted a family in there, and this is a couple. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of the story, of the backstory, but essentially, I decided to go with them because I thought it would. I think a nice couple would be good in the area as well. So we're at the point where I've signed off some more forms and documents, and it's with the letting agents. Hopefully they can get something signed fairly quickly. I signed all my details middle of last week, so I'll be calling them probably tomorrow just to check what the update on their situation is. And so I'm leaving the story now. I would have liked to have had it all signed up and delivered, but unfortunately we couldn't get that all done before the podcast could be released. So it's moving along. It's nearly at the end of the stage of it being done, and hopefully I can then start making some money back on it, which will help my family and my lifestyle and stuff. So that's all good. So I want us to sort of wrap up now and sort of say what the lessons learnt from it, which I think is what hopefully everyone's looking to hear from me. What do I think I did well, did badly, what I'd do differently. So I don't regret doing it. Equally, I think if I'd have been pushing for promotion, it would have been very tricky to have been able to do everything. Not the weekend stuff, not the site visits or the garden, but having to drop off a key or turning up for something. That was all. Actually, the travelling was quite difficult. It's from one side of London to the other, so it was quite a challenge. If I could have afforded a property over here, then maybe I could have done that, which would have been more convenient to where I live currently. But essentially, I think it was the right choice. I would say if you don't have people in the area that you trust and you can work with, then equally get the 3 providers, just get the 3 different people and then make your assessment on those things. I think that's a sound approach to delivering a property. And equally, getting a good letting agent has been a real bonus for me. And they were decently priced, and they were competitive, and they gave me the right sort of deals. He said when I first met him, "I want your business." And to be honest, I was like, "Oh, is he coming on a bit too strong?" But actually, as I said, I googled it, what the prices for this and that were, and he was all on the range, on the money. So, so that was a positive. So I would say definitely. Get someone as your letting agents and your agents as quickly as possible. Get them involved, and then they can help you along the way. The other thing is probably no surprise, but it cost me more than I thought it was going to cost me. Yeah, that's probably the biggest learning lesson. But we sort of. So from a background, we've updated our house where we moved in about 5 years ago, and so we had an idea on how much all this costs. But actually, there's always something. There was a tap that needed to be replaced fairly recently. That's just happened last week, or the start of last week, which needed to be done. There was a drainage issue, and that needed to be done. All these things weren't planned, weren't budgeted for. So. Caused me a problem in the long run. So I would say, as I say, in any project, I've run projects before, any project, it usually runs over on time and money. Now, time-wise, it's kind of worked quite well. I've actually been quite lucky on a time-wise sense, but the cost is probably more than I was probably hoping for, which is a shame, but it is what it is, so you just have to live with that. But yeah, so good learning experience. I would advise everyone to at least try something like this once, if it's your own house or whether it's a rental property. I will give you a further update further down the line when it starts making me money, and whether it was worth the hassle. And hopefully in 3 months' time, I'm not trying to sell it. Hopefully it will all be good from that point. So thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. I just want a quick shout out on a few things. Twitter, Instagram, check me out on there. Patreon, there's also a Patreon, there's different tiers. By all means, check that out. I'd love to get you involved in Patreon. There's some special offers on there as well. Something else which I announced a little while ago on Instagram, but I will do a big shout out for it now, is I'm going to do some business coaching. So if anyone is in the point of their career where they need a bit of a boost, they need a bit of a help to get promoted, they've got themselves in a rut, whatever it is, I'd love to hear from you. You can message me on Instagram, DM me on Instagram, or drop me an email through Instagram. Equally, you can go to my website, which is www.absolutebusinessmindset.com. You can contact me on there. There's a contact us section. Drop me an email. Love to hear from everyone. I'd love to be able to get some help out there. I've got a bit of availability which I'm trying to fill with this business coaching. I'd love to get some people on the books where I can help you directly. Hopefully you've been inspired and been helped by my podcast, and hopefully I can do some one-to-ones and do some face-to-faces, or we can always do it on Zoom or on Skype, whatever. There's lots of different ways of being able to do this, so let me know. I'm in London, so if you're in the London area, we could probably do a face-to-face. If you're not in the UK, if you're not then and you're outside of London, whether in the UK or the US, or I've got people all over the place, Indonesia, India, and like Estonia. So if anyone is interested, I'd love to be able to help out and get some people that I can add some value to as well. So if you've got anyone there, as I said, contact me in those ways: Instagram, email, contact me on the website, and we can go from there. Thank you very much, everyone, and I'll speak to you next time.